Hi, guys. It's good to be here with you today. This is Hayley, nutritionist and brain training weight loss coach. And today on the podcast, we're talking about losing weight faster with a concept that I call future you. And this is a training that's in my weight loss program that all of my clients can take themselves through at any point. But we also do this live together as a group. So we all print the workbook out and then we do live calls just focusing on this one concept, and it is hands down my clients favorite bonus training that we do. It's so much fun. It's kind of like a vision board for weight loss. Like, we're looking into the future, we're connecting with that version of ourselves that has lost the weight already and asking her questions and figuring out how to get there faster. So when I say like a vision board, it's not really like a vision board, but I think in terms of the funness and excitement of a vision board that we get from like picturing that, this future with all these wonderful things, it is like that, but we take it way deeper than just putting pictures on a board. There's a workbook, you do worksheets, you like take yourselves through some really in-depth questions, figuring out where you are now, what the future version of you looks like. And then instead of, I think with weight loss, it's so okay, soapbox moment. I think with weight loss, we tend to just focus like, all right, I'm just going to eat these foods. We don't ever take it deeper into what is going on in my mind. What is my mindset around losing weight, the foods that I eat, how this journey is going to look, and like, who is this future version of myself that has lost the weight, and how does she think about weight loss and food and eating on a day-to-day basis? We never do that when it comes to weight loss. We're like, here's this list of foods, just follow that list of foods. So this training really takes you through that. Like, let's connect to you who has lost the weight, and really, instead of just kind of stepping out and saying, okay, I'm going to follow these list of foods, we are looking to the future, finding that future version, and then we're laying like a nice path, a nice paved path to that future version so that we can get there really fast instead of seeing that future version like out in the distance. And in between us and that future version, there's like water, ponds and rocks and trees, and we're like stumbling around trying to figure out how to get there. This is like, there's a nice, lovely sidewalk that takes us right there. So that's kind of the metaphorical what this training is about, and how it's different, how this way of thinking about weight loss and losing weight is so much different than traditional dieting. So yeah, it was really fun, and I'm gonna take you through in this episode some ways that you can start doing this for yourself and start implementing some of the tools that I teach in the training. So, what is future you? It is really thinking about creating our future by looking to the future instead of to the past. Your brain's natural tendency is to create the future from whatever you've created in the past, because it wants to be able to predict things and keep you safe. So it's going to say, well, this is what happened last time, so that's how we should gauge our expectations. That's how we should decide what this is going to look like when we move forward, because that's what happened before. And so it's a very natural thing that unfolds in our lives. We do not really do a very good job of interrupting that. We're not really taught how to do that. But when we create from our past, what happens is we get what's called the self-fulfilling prophecy. We just create more of the past. We think, well, my last weight loss attempt, it went okay, I lost some weight, and then it just got really hard and I couldn't keep up with it, and I gained all the weight back and then some. And when we take ourselves through that, that scenario in our mind over and over, and we create that expectation for every weight loss attempt that we do, we end up just creating that same thing over and over and over again. That story becomes our future story. That past story becomes our future story. We don't really realize we're doing this. But what we want to do is start looking, like asking ourselves, how do I want my future to look? How do I want my weight loss journey to look? And creating from that place, like intentionally. I get to decide. And I think that's one thing that we miss so much. We forget like how much control we have. We think that, you know, things like weight loss are just happening to us, and it's really not true. It's happening in your mind. And in your mind, you have way more control and ownership than you're giving yourself credit for. So we really need to take ownership of our future, decide what it's going to look like, and then kind of lay down that path. Like, these are the steps that I'm going to take to get there. So again, if we're creating from the past and, you know, you always self-sabotage, or you always gain the weight back, or you can never say no to food, you just love food so much, you're just going to continue to create that. And you're going to be beating your head against a wall, wondering why you can't follow through. What's wrong with me for not being able to get this weight loss thing done? Why do I keep self-sabotaging? Because you're believing that you're a self-sabotager. You keep looking to your past and what you've done in the past to create your future. Like, let's decide, what does the future will look like? What do we want it to look like? Let's work towards that. And it's not going to look like whatever it looked like in the past. We don't want to do that anymore. None of us want to redo our past weight loss mistakes. Like, no, thank you. So we really have to interrupt where our brain is taking us and decide on purpose where we want it to go. So future you really gives us this landing place. Like, we're going into the future in our minds and asking ourselves questions about how we think now that we've lost the weight, about food, about our body, about getting dressed in the morning, about food's role in our life. We start asking those questions, and that gives us a really clear place of where we're going to be in our mind when we've lost the weight. And now we can't necessarily believe those things now, but now that we know where they are, we can lay down that path to get there, which is what this is really about. It gives us that landing place, this place that we're going to be working towards. And I think for something that seems sometimes so intangible, like weight loss, this gives us a very tangible process, a very specific, like on paper thing that we can start working on. It's so helpful to get it out of our heads and onto paper so that we can start taking real steps to get there instead of just always spinning on this stuff in our brain. That is really difficult. It's really challenging to just sit around and spin on all this stuff in your brain. You're going to get yourself wound around and around and around and never really get to the bottom of what's going on, especially if you don't have a coach. Coaching is so important. Like, no one would ever try to become a professional tennis player without a coach, or a professional any type of sport, or a professional any type of profession without like teachers or coaches. Yet when it comes to weight loss, we're over here like, I can figure this out on my own. I beg to differ. You haven't been able to figure it out on your own. You need someone that you can show your thoughts and your mindset to, that can say, okay, I know exactly what's going on, and this is how we're going to move you forward. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to practice differently. This is why you keep failing. And failure is okay. It's just showing you what you don't want to do anymore. But you need to probably be shown that. I can't go out on the tennis court and swing my racket a million times and hit like terrible shots, I'm never going to be able to know why I keep hitting this bad shot unless someone sits down and looks at my shot and says, oh, this is what you're doing. I see your racket is like making this motion instead of this motion. Don't practice that anymore. You want to practice this other thing. That is the value of like coaching and being able to lose weight with someone alongside you that can like point all of this stuff out to you and help you figure out where you need to go next. Okay, I got off on another soapbox tangent. Just call this the soapbox episode. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we connect with this future version of ourselves? How do we start losing weight faster? So first of all, we really need to go to that future place. And this sounds really strange. And I told this to all my clients. I was like, you got to just be open to what I'm about to say, because it is going to sound a little bit out there. But in your mind, like quiet your mind down. If I'm going to preface this, if you are in a place of defeat and doubt and overwhelm, that's not the time to start this process. You really need to be in a positive, neutral place where you can like quiet your mind down and listen, because you're going to have to start asking your future self who's lost the weight some questions. And I'm going to give you some questions at the end of this, but really quieting your brain down and start asking that future version of yourself. So in the training in my group, we did like 30 pounds down at the end of 3 months. So that was the future place that we were looking to. But you can do this for any future place. At the end of a month and you've lost 5 pounds, or you're just, you've lost 10 pounds, or it's a year from now and you've lost 50 pounds. You get to decide where that landing place is, but we just kind of picked one. And so if you're struggling, just pick one, pick something. It doesn't really matter. And you can always change it, but pick this future landing place where you've lost weight and quiet your mind and start asking that version of yourself questions. And the amazing thing is, as weird as it sounds, you're going to start getting answers from a different version of you. The beautiful thing about this is that version of you already exists inside of you. You just have to kind of wake it up and start utilizing it. You're living as a different version of yourself right now, and you need to go to that version who's lost the weight and doesn't struggle with her weight and start living as that version, because that version doesn't have the weight problem. The weight is gone. And when we start thinking like that person, the scale starts moving. It is crazy how fast it can happen. So the other thing about this is getting those thoughts and emotions of our future self onto paper is huge. Writing it down, pen to paper, my friends. I don't know how much I've talked about it in the podcast. I talk about it in my training program all the time, my brain training for weight loss program. I talk about it all the time, but pen to paper is a part of how our brains lay down new neural pathways. It's part of how we learn and absorb information and keep that information in our brains. So just doing it in your mind is not the same as pen to paper. And I'm not talking about fingers on a keyboard either. It's not the same thing. Like literally pen to paper. Okay. So getting that out on paper, like when you ask yourself these questions, start writing down the answers that you get and what are the emotions of that future version of yourself? Really fleshing that all out. That's almost like the vision board part of this, is like writing, like journaling. Who is this future person? How do they think about food and weight loss in their body and all of those things? What are the emotions that they carry around with them all day long? We're going to like see it on paper and be able to see this version of ourselves that doesn't struggle with our weight. And then we're going to start becoming that person. So some of the pitfalls that I see my clients get into, most common. We think that we have to see the result, like lose the weight before we become, and then we'll become that future version of ourselves. Like, so the scale is going to drop 30 pounds, and then I'll be this amazing person who believes that I don't struggle with my weight and believes that food isn't the answer to my emotional problems and believes that I love getting dressed in the morning once I lose the weight. But what I always tell my clients, you are doing it backwards if you're thinking that that's how it's going to go. And that's probably why it's never worked for you in the past. We don't get the result until we change the thoughts and the feelings that come before that result. We cannot create any result without changing the thoughts and our feelings first. We have to do that first. We have to start believing that we love our bodies and we love getting dressed in the morning, and that food is not our emotional crutch. It doesn't solve our emotions. I know how to do that without food. We just start believing those things first before that scale starts going down. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking that I'm wrong, keep doing it the way that you've been doing it. You're not going to see any success. You have to start doing it this way. You have to start changing your thoughts and your emotions first before you can see the result line. And at the end of this training, when I ran this training, because I said that in this training, and this was actually from a client who's been with me for a while, so she's heard me say this in many different ways before, but I said that during this training, and at the end of it, she said, that was my aha moment. I've been trying to create the result first without changing my thoughts and my feelings. And she's actually seen a lot of success. So that wasn't to say that she hasn't like lost weight or anything. But she's like at her finish line. She's really close. And she's like, and I think that's what's been standing my way. I keep telling myself that I'm not worthy of having better thoughts and emotions because I don't have like my final result yet. And I realize I have to have those thoughts and emotions first, and then the result's going to show up. So just be thinking about what that looks like for you and how that's different from how you've been doing it. Another pitfall is so right now you might be thinking about that future version of yourself who's lost 30 pounds. And right now that feels really exciting. So you might think, well, when I've lost the weight, I'm going to be so excited. I'm just be running around all day thinking about how excited I am. And you're really not. The future version of yourself who's lost the weight isn't really like running around excited about it. Yes, she's excited. Yeah, okay, she lost the weight. But her day to day isn't like just sheer excitement nonstop. It's much more neutral and it's much more average. It's much more just in confidence and calm that, yes, this is what I weigh. Yep, I lost 30 pounds. Not, oh my God, this is amazing. Sometimes that will be there. But most of the time, it's going to be this very solid, neutral place of, yeah, this is what I weigh. Like if someone said your name to you, you're just like, yeah. Kind of that same energy, that same feeling that you get. Yeah, of course I weigh this. So when you're thinking about your future and you're kind of like going to that future place, just be thinking, have in the back of your mind, that future place isn't just sheer excitement all the time. It's much more grounded than that. It's solid, it's steady. You believe it. It is in your bones that you are weighing this other weight. So one of the other things, and this isn't necessarily a pitfall, but one of the other things we talked a lot about in the training was what are these emotions of the future, like our future you emotions. And I think I did a full podcast on this, but there's 3 emotions that I really encourage my clients to figure out how they can create with their thinking, um, for weight loss specifically: confidence, calm, and certainty. So your future version of yourself is going to be carrying those around with you all the time. You feel confident that any food can sit in front of you, and you're not going to be freaking out in your mind over wanting to eat it and not wanting to eat it and like having this whole drama. You feel certain about what the scale is going to say when you go to step on it. You feel calm that you can get through your day and follow through on the meal plan that you made for yourself and not be, at the whim of every fast food restaurant that you pass by. And your brain just like being like, go get something. We gotta have something now. So you're gonna carry those 3 emotions with you, around with you, all of the time: about your weight, about getting dressed in the morning, about going to a party and leaving feeling good. You're going to have those with you at all times. So when you're thinking about this future version of yourself, be incorporating those calm, confidence, certainty emotions with you. Okay, so here are the 3 things that you need to do in order to get started with this for yourself. So the first thing is, and the first thing that I did with my clients in the training, we have to figure out where we are. Where is our brain right now with thinking about our weight loss journey, how that's going to look, our relationship with food, our relationship with our body, getting dressed in the morning. Like that one comes up a lot, and I think that's a really good place to kind of start. So ask yourself all 3 of those questions. Where is my mindset right now with my relationship with food? How I believe weight loss is going to look for me. What I think about my ability to lose weight. One of the ones that came up when we did this live was body parts that we don't like. So like listing those out. What are your thoughts about them? Because what you're going to find, so as you write those down, as you discover what they are, you're going to find that some of them feel so true for you, you can't possibly believe that there's another option. But the truth of it is, everything that you're writing down is a thought that you have in your brain. And thoughts are optional. They're under your control. It might not feel like it's under your control because you've practiced it so many times and you didn't even know that it was there. But now you know it's there. So if you're finding thoughts that are like you're having a lot of resistance to, like one of my clients brought up a body part that she really doesn't like. And she couldn't believe that there was any other way of thinking about that body part unless she just lost the weight. I can't believe that there's any other way to think about this part of my body until it actually looks different in the mirror. That's okay. If you're having that resistance, you don't need to work on that one right now. The ones that you're having the most resistance to, give them some space. Just let them exist on that paper outside of your brain for a couple of days before you really start looking at them. Because we don't want to get hung up on the one that we've got a ton of resistance on and then we don't do any of this process at all. You're going to find there are other thoughts there that you're like, I see it now and I really want to change that. I really want that to be different for myself. And there might be some that you get out and you're like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Like, how is that a thing that I've been thinking? So those are the ones you're going to start moving the needle on. The ones that you have a ton of resistance to, you can just kind of let them sit. But either way, we need to know where you are now, where you stand now. So if we kind of go back to this, like laying down a sidewalk to the future version of ourselves. If you ask somebody to make a map for you to this certain point, like, can you draw a map for me to get to St. Louis, Missouri? They would ask you, okay, where are you right now? And if you're like, well, I don't know. Like, I can't draw you a map to get to this city unless I know where you are. You could be in like anywhere in this circumference of the city, any amount of miles away from that. Like, I can't draw you a map until I know where you're standing to begin with. So we have to know where we are. The thing about knowing where we are isn't to get all those things out and then be mad at ourselves that that's what we've been thinking for the last 50 years or 20 years. It's to get them out so that we can hear them when they start to play out again. Because your brain, just because you know what they are, doesn't mean your brain has changed. Your brain's still going to spit all those things out at you. You need to be able to hear it and know that it's coming and that it's happening. And here it is. I just heard my brain say that thing to me. And this is what I want to think instead. So we have to know where you are. Secondly, we need to figure out where we want to be from the future, looking to the future. I want to be 30 pounds down and to have weight loss be effortless. Like, it was a really enjoyable thing. It was a journey of self-discovery. I really loved doing it. And now I've lost the weight and I love my body. I get dressed in the morning and I put on clothes that I like, and I look in the mirror and I like how I look, and I get to go to work with confidence. And I know I have this peace of mind knowing that I'm going to get to play with my kids' grandkids because I'm body is healthy and I'm healthy and I've got everything that I need to live a long life. Like, that's a future you thought. Let's flesh all of that out. Instead of right now, you might be thinking, I hate my body. I hate getting dressed. I hate all of my clothes. I don't want to look in the mirror. I don't like what I see. I want to shrink and hide and just put myself in a corner. And I'm really worried that I'm not going to live long enough to play with my kids' grandkids, to play with my, to play with my kids' kids, to play with my grandkids. Like, I'm really worried about that. My cholesterol is up. My blood pressure is up. We're talking about pre-diabetes, and I'm freaking out. When you are walking around day to day with those thoughts and you're trying to lose weight, you're creating more of that, more of what you have. Because you're trying to lose weight from this place of like deep seated doubt and fear and worry and overwhelm. We got to go to the future where it feels a lot different. We feel calm and confident and certain. And start using that vision to decide what our next step is. Otherwise, you're always going to be stuck. Okay? So we're looking to the future. We're asking that future version of ourselves questions. How is the weight loss journey? How do you feel stepping on the scale? How do you think when you go to get dressed in the morning? How do you decide to eat? What do you eat? What do you do when you've had a really stressful day? What do you do in a situation where your brain is just talking to you about going to get some food? What do you do when you go out to dinner with your coworkers and everyone's eating and you're not hungry? What do you think? What do you do? What's happening in your brain in all those situations? Those are all fantastic questions to ask yourself, and a really good place to start figuring out who that first future version of yourself is and how they think and feel. And then step number 3, we got to back it up. So we know where we are now. We know where that future mindset is, but we can't believe that right now. It's way too far in the future. So we got to start baby stepping from where we are to that future place. So what we're always doing, always, is we're finding the next best thought for us. If I'm here thinking I hate getting dressed in the morning, I want to take it here to where I'm like, you know what? I have this outfit and I like how I look in this outfit. I feel good in this outfit. I feel confident in this outfit. I want to love getting dressed in the morning. I'm working towards loving getting dressed in the morning. Like that's how we're moving it forward in that style. Things that we can believe now that feel a heck of a lot better than where we are. Because I want to love getting dressed in the morning feels so much better than I hate getting dressed in the morning. Those are two completely different things. And we might be able to believe both now. And so when we did this in the training, I want to bring this up. I was doing this training and I'm talking my clients through this in just like what I did for you. And they were like, well, I can't believe those thoughts that you gave. You have to figure out what they are for yourself, okay? You can't just take whatever I say verbatim. You need to do the style that I did, but things that you believe, that you can believe right now, that are going to help you move forward. If you can't believe them, it's not going to work. And you don't have to fool yourself. That was the other thing that came up. Like, I feel like I'm trying to fool myself into believing something that I don't believe. Then that's not the right landing. That's not the right thought for you. It's not the right next step. If you feel like you have to fool yourself into believing it, you can't believe it. It has to be something that's believable for you right now, that feels good for you right now. That's better than where you are. Okay? So you have to figure out what that is for you. I can't do that for you. I can coach you through it, like live, but I can't just spit this out. You got to do that on your own. Okay. So those are the 3 steps. You got to figure out where you are. You got to figure out where future you is. And then you got to figure out what all of the steps are in between, all of the thoughts and emotions are that are in between here, where you are, and the future version of you who's lost the weight. Okay. So I wanted to share with you one of my clients' testimonials from this. She said, I'm so in awe of what's happening. 30 minutes of coaching with Hayley on Tuesday made a huge impact. I weighed myself on Monday, had the call Tuesday, practiced what we discussed. And today, Thursday, the scale is showing a few pounds down since Monday. I had this misconception that it was going to be hard. But once I challenged my thoughts, now that seems crazy, it was so much easier. Can you imagine, like, Monday to Thursday, you've lost a couple of pounds, 2-3 pounds in what, 3 days? Just from a little bit of coaching and a little bit of practicing something different, practicing something new. And you're losing a couple of pounds in 3 days. That's amazing. And it's possible for you. If you want those kind of results, come work with me. What are you waiting for? Okay? All right. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.